Welcome to Sudbury Sports Unbiased, your source for no-spin coverage on the Sudbury Wolves, Sudbury Five, Sudbury Cyclones, and Sudbury Cubs with Rick and Craig. Hello, sports fans. Craig here, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Canada, as you know, was eliminated from the World Cup with their round of 16 loss to Morocco yesterday. If you're looking for our reaction show, it's up on YouTube now. Don't miss it. I think it was reasonable, and I think it painted Canada in a fair light. Today, though, we're going to do something that the soccer networks do frequently. It's a game called Stock Up, Stock Down. And basically, it's very simple. We're going to look at every player on the Canadian World Cup team, and we're going to assess their performance of the tournament, whether their stock is up, whether their stock is down, or whether it's trending stable. And more importantly, we're going to put our crystal ball ahead to 2030, and we're going to assess if the player remains a key building block or a roster piece moving forward. So we're going to look at our screen, so don't worry, I'm not disappearing from you. You will see me, but I will be reading off a screen just so it helps me to identify each of the players. So we're going to start with the goaltenders, and the first player we're going to look at is Maxime Crepeau. Maxime Crepeau started all games for Canada in the World Cup. He had some great moments. He had a couple of clean sheets, looked good. There were times he didn't look so good. He gave up a questionable goal versus Switzerland. Could have stopped the first goal yesterday against Morocco. Good moments and bad moments. Maxime Crepeau, I would call his stock stable. Now, the question is he a roster piece moving forward? And I would say not necessarily. Maxime Crepeau is a good goaltender, but I'm going to give you one illustration as to why I think he may not be the answer in 4 years' time. Bono, his buddy, the Moroccan goaltender, made a key save on Tani Oluwashai early in the game. If that goal goes in, it's 1-0 Canada. The whole game flips on its head. Maxime Crepeau couldn't stop the first Moroccan goal. Yeah, he was a little bit screened, but I honestly think he could have made a better effort. Good moments, bad moments, but he's not a first-class goaltender. If Canada finds a real good goaltender, Maxime Crepeau is a backup, or maybe he's a third goaltender. So that's how I see Maxime Crepeau, stable, not necessarily a roster piece. The next player we're going to feature is Owen Goodman from Barnsley, on loan from Crystal Palace. This man is what I will call the invisible man. He's with Canada. He's at the camps. He's never featured. He's never played a minute for Canada. I can't tell you if he's good, bad, or terrible. But bottom line, he makes it as our third goaltender. He's a younger goaltender, 22 years old. He may be the future for the team. I'd like to see him play a couple of games, and let's see what we have. I would call his stock stable. Whether he's a roster piece moving forward, you have to believe, since he's been at so many camps, he has to be. Now, whether he'll be a starter, whether he'll be a backup, that is hard to determine. But Owen Goodman is part of the future. The other goaltender on the team, Dane St. Clair. Dane St. Clair, for the longest time, was locked into a huge battle with Maxime Crepeau for the number one goaltending spot. He didn't play a minute in the World Cup. I'm sure he didn't like being a backup. Yes, I appreciate that Crepeau and St. Clair are friends, but these guys are professionals. They want to play. They both want the number one shirt. I've seen Dane St. Clair play. He's a decent goaltender, but I would put him in exactly the same range as Crepeau. Good goaltender, but replaceable if a better option comes along. His stock is stable. He is a relatively young goaltender. He may be more of the future than Maxime Crepeau is moving forward. We'll have to see. We'll call him tentatively a roster piece for Canada moving forward into 2030. Let's look at the defenders. And the first defender we're going to profile is Moise Bombito. Moise Bombito overcame long odds with a fractured leg, and he actually featured in 2 of the games. It's very unfortunate that Moise Bombito did not play the entire tournament. This guy is the real deal. I don't think he was at 100%, but he was still effective. Moise Bombito is by far the best defender that Canada has. He is a roster piece and a rock moving forward. I would call his stock, based on the World Cup, as stable, but he is a cornerstone piece for Canada in 2030. Next defender we're going to look at, Derek Cornelius. Derek Cornelius played most of the games for Canada. He had a muscle pull. He did not play against Morocco on Saturday. Derek Cornelius, he had a decent World Cup. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible. He did the job. I would say his stock is stable. Whether he is a long-term piece for Canada, I'm not so sure. I think that Derek Cornelius is going to have to work hard to maintain his starting status. He has competition inside the squad, and right now I would project him as a backup. If a better player comes along, he's in a valiant battle for a roster spot moving forward in 2030. Next player that we're going to talk about is Luc de Fougerolles. Luc de Fougerolles was 20 years old. He had some fantastic moments in the World Cup. He had some moments where his inexperience showed. But on balance, this gentleman's stock is way up. This guy is playing in Division 1 of English soccer. This guy needs to move to a better league and a better team. I think this guy has turned heads. I would not be surprised if Luc de Fougerolles within the next year or so moves to a top 5 league. I think this guy is that good. This guy is another cornerstone piece of the team moving forward. I would call him a lock for a roster spot in 2030. Next player we're going to look at is Alistair Johnston. Alistair Johnston is one of those guys, he just doesn't get enough respect. Alistair Johnston is an excellent defender. This guy has done very little wrong in a Canada shirt. He plays well at Celtic. He shows up for his team. He gives his all, and he had a very good World Cup. I realize that Alistair Johnston is happy at Celtic. Celtic is happy with him. But at 27 years old, maybe it's his time to move to a top 5 league. I think this guy could make it and be very effective in a top 5 league. In 4 years, he'll be 31 years old. I think he still has a lot of good soccer in front of him, and I think he will be a roster piece for the team moving forward. I would call his stock moving up, not greatly up, but enough that I think he's on the radar for a number of teams and a number of big teams in Europe. Next defender we're going to look at is Alfie Jones. Alfie Jones was hurt this year. He didn't feature whatsoever in the World Cup, and that was unfortunate. Alfie Jones is a new player to the program. This guy looks like he's a pretty good player, but I think he's in a battle to keep his roster spot. Alfie Jones needs to be healthy. I think this guy is a young player, and I think he will be a roster piece. Is he a starter in the defense? I'm not sure, but I think he does have backup ability, and that's not too bad because the Canada defense is really very good. His stock, I would call it trending stable. Next player we're going to look at, Richie Laryea. Richie Laryea is one of those guys who flies under the radar. Nobody talks about Richie Laryea as a good defender, but this guy has it. This guy shows up for club. He shows up for country. He doesn't have the most ability. He doesn't have the most blazing speed, but this guy gives it everything he has. He did very little wrong at the World Cup. It's unfortunate that Richie Laryea is now 31 years old. I'm hoping this guy will be around in 4 more years. I'm not so sure that he will be at 35, but if he is, and he can play the way that he has been playing, this guy is very effective. I think his years as a starter will be gone by 2030, but I like this guy for his leadership, and his contributions to the back line are very, very considerable. His stock is stable. Let's hope he's a roster piece moving forward. Listed as a defender, Nico Seeger. Nico Seeger is one of those Swiss Army knives. He can play all over the pitch. You need a defender, he can do a credible job there. His main position, though, is midfield. And Nico Seeger did feature in 2 of Canada's games at the World Cup. And Nico Seeger did nothing to diminish his profile. This guy, very effective, came off the bench, was great, started against Morocco, and he looked really good. This guy is 22 years old. This guy, I think, is going to be a future star. Whether it'll be in the defense or in the midfield, I'm not sure, but I would call Nico Seeger a lock to be on the team in 2030. His stock, I think it's going up. I'd like to see him move from Hajduk Split, and I think he may be a guy in a couple more years that could feature in a top 5 league. That's how much I value the player. Nico Seeger is a guy to watch out for looking forward. And the last defender we're going to profile is Joel Waterman. Joel Waterman plays in MLS. He did not feature in the World Cup. I was surprised that Waterman made the team. That's not a knock on Waterman. Waterman is just not at the same quality of the other defenders. I don't think he'll be a part of the 2030 team. I think if he is, he's going to have to work like a dog to maintain his backup status. There's a lot of holes in his game. He's 30 years old. I think his time with the national team will be done before 2030. His stock is stable. He's done great things for the program. Good player, but not a part of the future. Let us move to the midfielders. Ali Ahmed. Ali Ahmed is 25 years old. Ali Ahmed, quite frankly, had a bit of a disappointing World Cup. After a great season in the English First Division, I thought this guy might be a breakout star. He was not. He struggled at times. He had his good moments. He's 25. He'll be at his peak in 2030. This guy has a lot of capability, but I think there's still more in his toolbox. Ali Ahmed has to develop more as a player. This guy can be more ruthless in front of goal, and this guy could be a playmaking option, and more importantly, a scoring option. This is a guy I would keep. His stock, I don't think it took a huge drop. I'll call it stable. And I do think that he's a key piece of the team moving forward in 2030. Next midfielder, Tajon Buchanan. Tajon Buchanan, I have to tell you, I just don't think he had a great World Cup. I thought this guy would be dangerous on the wing, making defenders look crazy and stupid. But aside from the Qatar game, where Canada made Qatar look foolish, Tajon Buchanan was not particularly effective. Tajon Buchanan, good player. I think we may be at his ceiling. He's at a top 5 league. He's in Villarreal, and I don't know if he's going to maintain his Villarreal spot. He could move down to another league. Do I think he'll be a piece for Canada moving forward in 2030? I do. Whether he'll be a starter, that's a great question. I think Canada has a number of promising midfielders, and I think that Tajon Buchanan is in a battle for his starting spot and his playing time. His stock is trending down, and that's unfortunate because I think there's a lot more ability that Jesse Marsh and others need to unlock from this very talented player. Next player we're going to look at is Matthew Choinière. Matthew Choinière did have some playing time in the World Cup. He looked lost. Matthew Choinière is not ready to compete at the highest level. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but Mr. Choinière is 27 years old. He's at his peak. I'm not so sure that he's going to be part of the team in 2030. He is being pushed by many talented people. His stock, I would say, took a slight dip. Is he going to be a roster piece? Not so sure about that. My inclination is that he would not be a roster piece for me in 2030. Next player we're going to look at, Alphonso Davies. Well, as I said in my roster preview, we could do a whole video on Alphonso Davies, and we're not going to do a whole video on Alphonso Davies, but we have to be real here, folks. Alphonso Davies is at a crossroads. He's at a crossroads personally. He's at a crossroads professionally. This guy has been given every advantage known to mankind by Canada Soccer. You have a coach that coddles him, cajoles him, just about feeds him a bottle. I'm sorry, but Alphonso Davies, his luster has left. Whether it'll come back is a great question. Is Alphonso Davies talented enough to be on this team? Without question. When he's healthy, he's one of the best players in the world. But I'm sorry, 15 minutes at a World Cup doesn't guarantee you anything. The first thing that Alphonso Davies needs to do, he needs to get healthy. He has to play week in and week out. And he hasn't done that for country, and he hasn't done that for Bayern Munich. And Bayern Munich, I don't think they've given up on the player, but Bayern Munich doesn't wait for injured players. They sign other players. When Alphonso Davies does get healthy, he's going to have considerable competition for his left back spot. That tells you how Bayern Munich operates. And I think that maybe Canada Soccer needs to operate in the same way with Alphonso Davies. Yes, Alphonso is our best player. Yes, Alphonso is extremely talented, but we can't live on talent and we can't live on what ifs. We have to go on with what we have in front of us. Alphonso Davies is still young. He's 26 years old. In 4 years, he'll be at his peak. He'll be 30 years old. Is he a starter for this team moving forward? Yes. Would he be given a guaranteed starting spot? Not by me. Maybe Jesse Marsh will be nice to him, but it's time to read Alphonso Davies a different chapter. Alphonso, I'm sorry, you have to earn your time and you have to earn your spot. That's how it is. This team is now a round of 16 team. We can't keep you around as a hood ornament. You have to be a contributor. If you can't contribute, Alphonso, we have to get someone else to help us. And I'm hoping Alphonso Davies is part of the future. Would he start for me in 2030? Yes, if healthy, but he's not a lock, in my opinion. And I think that's what Alphonso Davies has to deal with. Alphonso Davies has always been the fair haired boy of Canadian soccer, but he doesn't deserve that any longer. Alphonso Davies, you have to go back to work. You have to go into your own head and you have to look at your psychological limitations, and you've got to get through whatever's bothering you about your hamstring. If that means you have to have surgery, miss more time to keep your career going, that's what I would do. And I think that's the first step. And then the second step is you have to go on the pitch and prove to everyone on this team and everyone in this country that you're still worthy of being team captain and that you're still our best player. I'm hopeful for the player, but I'm not entirely convinced. Stock down considerably. Is he part of the team in 2030? Yes. Next midfielder we're going to look at, Stefan Eustáquio. Stefan Eustáquio is one of those guys that you don't really know what you miss until he's not around. He's 29 years old. He's at his peak now. In 4 years, he'll be 33. Stefan Eustáquio is a solid midfielder. The guy does his job. He works his tail off. He can be an offensive player. And on a good day, he can control the midfield. Is he a part of this team moving forward in 2030? Yes, he is. Is he a starter? Well, that's another question. I think Stefan Eustáquio could be a starter, but he's going to have to work for it. He needs to get regular playing time, whether that's in Europe or in North America. He needs to play week in, week out. There are people gaining on Stefan Eustáquio. I like Stefan Eustáquio. I like the player. I rate him, and I think he will be part of the team in 2030. Whether he'll be a starter, that's another issue for debate on another day. Next player we're going to look at is Ismail Kone. If you ask me the one player that I thought would be a breakout star for Canada, it would be Ismail Kone. Ismail Kone, 23 years old. In 4 years, he'll be 27. He'll be at his peak. He is still growing. Unfortunately, Ismail Kone's tournament was cut short because of a horrific broken leg suffered in the Qatar game on a very vicious tackle. Ismail Kone is a tough guy. Ismail Kone has character. He's going to come back, and I think he's going to come back stronger and better for the experience. Is Ismail Kone a part of this team moving forward? Absolutely. Is he one of their best players moving forward? Yes, he is. He hasn't hit his peak, and he will be part of the solution moving forward in 2030. His stock trending stable. Next player, Liam Miller. Liam Miller's had an up and down career with the national team. At times he's looked good, at times not so good. And I would say this was what it was like at the World Cup. There were times when he looked pretty decent, and then there were times that I just didn't feel that he really fit into what Jesse Marsch was trying to do. Liam Miller is going to be playing in the Premier League next year, and I think this will give us a better barometer of what this player is. Liam Miller, only 26 years old. In 4 years, he'll be 30. Is he part of the solution, part of the roster moving forward in 2030? I would say so. His role, I'm not so sure. Not sure if he'll be a starter. I think he's better off on the bench. That doesn't mean he's a bad player, but again, he needs to work for his spot. His stock, I would call it stable. Next player to look at is Jonathan Osorio. Jonathan Osorio, one of the veterans of the team at 34. Jonathan Osorio has been a warrior and a good soldier for the Canadian national team. He did get a few minutes at the World Cup, and that's what I thought he would get. Jonathan Osorio was still a good week in, week out player. Is he going to be an international footballer in 2030? I doubt it. I think this is his swan song or close to it with the Canadian team. Jonathan Osorio is a great role model for kids. This guy came from difficult circumstances, worked his way up, and he deserves every plaudit that he gets. Is he going to be part of the team in 2030? No. Moving forward, his stock, I would call it trending stable. Next player we're going to look at is Nathan Saliba. Nathan Saliba is 22 years old. This guy came on in the World Cup and he had some brilliant moments. That goal off a set piece against Qatar was brilliant. Otherwise, he had a difficult time. He looked like he was overmatched by the level. Nathan Saliba has plenty of time to develop. I think Jesse Marsch likes this player, and I like this player too. Will he be part of the roster in 2030? I would say yes. Will he be a starter? I'm not so sure about that. I think that Nathan Saliba is a great piece off the bench, and if he develops his game, he does have a chance to start. Plenty of competition, though, in a very talented Canadian midfield. His stock trending stable. Last midfielder, Jacob Schaffelberg. Jacob Schaffelberg is noted as a midfielder, but essentially he's a winger. Jacob Schaffelberg had his best moments 2 years ago when he played so well at Copa America. At the World Cup, he was a bit piece. Couple of games he played, he was not particularly impactful. He was the guy who put the ball into the box, and the second ball went to Eustachio, and Eustachio converted the chance against South Africa. The Maritime Messi, he plays in MLS. He's a good week in, week out player. Is he a player for the 2030 squad? He's 26 now. He'll be 30 then. I'm not so sure that he will be. I don't think he will be, actually. Jacob Schaffelberg, good player, but I think there's going to be players that are going to come up through the system and other dual nationals that are going to challenge for his spot. Do I like Jacob Schaffelberg as a player? Yes, but he's limited. His job, carrying up and down the wing, he doesn't bring a whole lot to the team. His stock, I don't think he hurt his stock too much. I would call his stock trending stable. So now that we've gone through the midfielders, the defenders, and the goalkeepers, we're going to spend some time on the forwards, i.e. the strikers. First one, Jonathan David. Jonathan David had a great game against Qatar. He had a hat trick. He made his country proud. He went, I'm here. But I'm sorry, that was the only game, in my view, that Jonathan David actually showed his colors. In the 4 other games that Canada played, I would call his form disappointing. And I would say very disappointing. Jonathan David plays for Juventus. He's not playing week in and week out, and it's showing. Jonathan David did not look sharp. He didn't look alert around the goal mouth. The chance that he missed on several games, he should have had at least 2 more goals in this tournament. And there was a great point made by a number of observers. A lot of the really good teams have a killer striker. Jonathan David did not show a killer mentality. Yes, he's a great all-around player. He's a great defender. He's a great chaser. But the bottom line is, as an old hockey coach once said, you have to put the biscuit in the basket. And Jonathan David didn't do that enough. Jonathan David needs to continue to work on his game. He needs to go back to Juventus, and he needs to show the coaching staff that he can play week in, week out. If not, I think Jonathan David should look for a move somewhere else where he can play every week. This is a guy that I think will be better with more time. His stock, in my view, is down, and I would say by a considerable amount. I don't think Juventus was particularly impressed by David's form in the World Cup. Jonathan David's still a young man. He's going to be 30 at the next World Cup. Is he part of the team moving forward? Yes. Is he a starter? That's a great question. You know, Jonathan David, for all his great qualities, he didn't show me that he was a top drawer striker. And that's harsh, because this is the best striker that Canada has at the moment. Whether he'll be that top drawer striker in 4 more years, very difficult to say. But I would say that Jonathan David is in a battle for his starting striker position. Next player we're going to look at, Promise David. Promise, yes, that's a great name for this guy. That's not his real name. He's got about 6, but let's call him Promise because that's the only one that anybody can pronounce. The players call him Toby. This guy worked his tail off just to get to the world. Credit to him. And he featured in a few of the games. And Promise David, he looked good. He had an assist, he scored a goal. This guy, in my view, is the future of the Canadian strikers. This guy is a young man. In 4 more years, I think 2 things will happen. Promise David will be in a top 5 league. Promise David will be 28 years old. He'll be at his peak, and I think he will be scoring goals for fun somewhere. Canada needs this kind of player. Yes, I understand he's not a chaser. He doesn't defend maybe as diligently as some of the other strikers or press as hard. But this team needs a bona fide goal scorer, and this is the guy that I think is the bona fide goal scorer for Canada moving forward. Is he part of the team in 2030? Absolutely. Is he a starter? If he continues his way up the form charts, he will definitely be a starter, and I think he'll be a star in 2030. I can't wait to see Promise David in 4 years. I think we may not have a Harry Kane, but we're going to have, I think, a top drawer striker. Hopefully he'll have some people to support him at that time. His stock, given his comeback, given his form at the World Cup, I would say it's up. It won't be too long before Promise David plays at a top 5 league. Next player we're going to look at, Marcelo Flores. Marcelo Flores did not play in the World Cup. He had a terrible knee injury as he was finishing the Mexican League campaign. And it's really unfortunate because this 22-year-old is going to be a terrific player. Marcelo Flores is what Canada really needs. A technical guy in small areas around the box. You can see his Mexican training, and this is a player that would fit extremely well in any system, and in particular in Jesse Marsh's system. Is this guy a piece for the future? Yes. This guy will be 26 years old in 2030. He'll be part of the team, and it would not surprise me terribly if Marcelo Flores and Promise David are the starting strikers. His stock, well, we're going to call it trending stable because there's no reason to say otherwise. You can't penalize a guy for his injury. He'll be back, but look out for this guy in the future. Next forward, we're going to look at Kyle Larin. Kyle Larin is the yo-yo on this team, and that's not necessarily good. Kyle Larin is 31 years old. This guy has been one of the top players for Canada for a long time. For some reason, he just can't seem to find great favor with Jesse Marsh, and that's unfortunate. This guy can score goals. Yeah, he's not a great defender. He's not a great chaser. But, when you needed a goal, who did Jesse Marsh turn to in that game against Bosnia-Herzegovina? Kyle Larin. Kyle Larin can still play for this team. And Kyle Larin, after he went to Southampton, played full-time. This guy can still do it. The question is whether Jesse Marsh will ever give him a chance to be a full-time player on this team, and I'm not so sure he will. Is Kyle Larin part of this team in 4 years? He's going to be 35 years old. I don't think so. I don't think Kyle Larin will be part of the team. Would I like him to be part of the team? Yes, I do. But I just don't think it's in the cards for him and for Jesse Marsh. His stock, I would call it trending stable. We have two more forwards to look at. And the next forward we're going to profile, Jayden Nelson. Jayden Nelson is an exciting player. This is the kind of guy that I think has untapped potential. He's 23 years old. This guy can play. He's in MLS. He moved to Norway, came back to MLS. He's playing well for Austin. My sense is that in 4 years, Jayden Nelson will be at his peak, and I think I'm one of his biggest supporters. I think this guy will be in a top 5 league. Will he be a part of the team in 2030? Yes. Will he be a starter? That's a great question. I'm not so sure he's a great striker, but I can tell you this, I love this guy coming off the wing. He can do a lot of things. He and Marcelo Flores, different profiles of players, guys that I think will be extremely strong assets for Canada moving forward. His stock trending stable. And finally, Tani Oluwasai. Tani Oluwasai. I like this guy. He plays hard. He presses hard. He does everything that Jesse Marsh wants him to do. He's 26 years old. There's only one problem for Tani Oluwasai. He can't hit the net. And if he was a defender, nobody would care. But this guy is counted on to score goals. And I'll say it one more time. In the game against Morocco yesterday, Tani Oluwasai had the best chance that Canada had to score. And as so often happens, he can't find the back of the goal. I'm sorry, but if you can't find the back of the goal and you're a striker, you can't play for this team. I don't care if you press. I don't care if you defend. This game is about scoring goals. Tani Oluwasai, 26 years old. He'll be 30 in 4 years. Is he part of the team moving forward? No. I just think that there are more talented options coming, and I think Tani Oluwasai will be on the outside looking in. His stock, well, I would say he's at Villarreal right now, and I would say that his stock took a bit of a dip. He's going to have to work very hard to keep his spot in La Liga. Let's hope that he does. Maybe there's more improvement in this guy, but you need to score goals. So that's how we see the Canadian team stock up, stocked out. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you're hearing, hit like and subscribe. And until next time, let the sports be with you.